Hello, everyone. I welcome you all, and thanks for joining this meeting on a weekday evening. My name is Dr. Anand, and I'm a doctor working in the NHS, but I've been organizing this events over the last 7 years. We all know the next couple of weeks is a very important time for all the hard work people have put in, and we are expecting the A-level results on August 13th, I believe. Hopefully, things should go on well. But in the unfortunate event, if things don't really work out, don't worry, there are always plan B. And we have been supporting parents and teachers over the last few years, and we find that if people are really keen, there is always a way to continue with your aspiring career. So with that in mind, we are organizing today a very important event. What to do if on August 13th, if your initial plan didn't work out. And I am very delighted and very honored to welcome our speaker of the day, Mrs. Sarah Denby, who is the head of higher education and careers at Bradford Grammar School. Sarah teaches mathematics at the sixth form and is quite popular. I can vouch that because my daughter is her student, a proud student of hers. And she did an excellent talk last year, and I'm very thankful to her for agreeing to come over to help us out with her immense knowledge of helping students at the Bradford Grammar School. Over to you, Mrs. Denby, for the next 45 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anand. Thank you for the introduction and welcome everybody. I am here today, as Dr. Anand has said, to kind of help with sort of the process over the next week or two and making sure that if things, as he said, don't quite go to plan, that you've kind of got a plan in place for a plan B and backup plans and stuff like that, just so that you're as prepared as you can be going into next Thursday. I think Dr. Anand hit the nail on the head when he said there is always a way in, and if things don't quite go to plan, that is not actually unusual. It happens to many, many students year after year. But with a bit of perseverance and a bit of planning, there is more often than not a way to get around things and to make sure that you can get to where you want to be in the long run. So I'm going to talk today a little bit about if you what you would do on A-level results day if you do not achieve the required A-level grades. So normally that being the 3 A's in biology, chemistry, and one other subject, and you still aspire to be a doctor. We're going to talk about resits and the pros and cons of going down the route of resitting the following year, looking at whether doing an alternative undergraduate degree is a sensible plan, and moving on to postgraduate medicine afterwards. And then also we are going to touch on opportunities overseas as well, where you may not have the grades for studying in the UK, but there are overseas options as well. I'm also going to touch on if you did achieve the required grades for medical school, but you actually don't have any offers as of yet moving into results day. So we're going to talk a little bit about if that were the case, clearing gap years, reapplying, or plans like that. So it's really split into two sections depending on what grades you get on A-level results day. So I think what's really important going into this is that you have these ideas and these plans in place, then you are prepared for either of these eventualities. So the first thing is if you do not achieve the grades that you need on results day next Thursday. First thing first, do not panic at all, because this does happen to people. I've seen it happen to my own students year after year. And for many of them, they still actually manage to achieve their dream. It might not be quite in the path and the route that they thought it was going to be, but they still manage to get there in the end. So the first thing that often people decide on results day, if they haven't got the A's that they need in 3 A levels, is they consider taking a gap year and resitting. So if that were the case, often it may not be that you have to resit all three A levels, but actually people do use the time of a gap year to book to resit their A levels. And they also, alongside studying and revising to try and increase the grades in their A levels, they will retake the UCAT. And they will maybe get some paid work, some volunteer work. They will do things to try and strengthen their application to medical school as well. I will in a second talk about how we can make use of gap years for strengthening our application and things that we can do to kind of help give ourselves the best chance. But if you were in the position where you're needing to resit, obviously a lot of your gap year will be spent working on your A levels to try and pull the grades up to where they need to be. You would need to retake the UCAT. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing because actually what I tend to see is that students that have resat their UCAT tend to get a much stronger score second time round than first time round. So it is actually sometimes a good thing for students. It gives them more opportunity to be able to get shortlisted for interviews at more medical schools. What I would say with resits is that you've got to be careful where you apply to. Some universities do not accept resits and some do. So it's always worth checking with the medical schools that you want to apply to see if they will consider your application if it is a resit. Increasingly, they are, most of them now seem to do so. They do seem to accept it. Because you are resitting, some of them may be a little bit wary about offering you a place on their course. I would say that it comes down to your UCAT score, your new UCAT score that you will sit. If you get a high UCAT score, the universities are less likely to be too concerned that you're having to resit your A levels. But if you have a lower UCAT score on your second time sitting it and you're resitting, that is where it becomes a little bit difficult, and it is probably expected that you then wouldn't get any offers in that year. That's when it then becomes a 2-year process because you will wait to see how you do in your resit, and then it may be that you end up having to take a second gap year to reapply again and do the UCAT again. I think the key thing is making sure that you know how to book the UCAT on results day so that if you are in this situation, you can get logged on straight away and try and book it for as late as possible, really. I do recommend you do it into September as late as possible to give yourself time to revise it if you haven't yet been working on it over the summer. The other thing that some students choose to do, because of the concern that maybe the resits and the gap years may turn into a 2-year gap year, some students actually think, well, rather than doing that, would it make sense to go and do an undergraduate degree in another course rather than resitting A levels? Because actually it's only 3 years, and if your resits and gap years and all of that ended up being a 2-year process anyway, sometimes taking an alternative undergraduate degree is actually a bit more of a preferable option for people. A lot of students take this route, and then what they do is after they have finished their undergraduate degree or during their 3rd year of their undergraduate degree, they do apply for postgraduate medicine. And actually, increasingly on our medical courses now, it's almost getting to sort of 50-50, where half the cohort have done an undergraduate degree first. So you are certainly not maybe, if anything, sometimes it can enhance your application for med school because you've done an undergraduate degree. It can actually sometimes speed up your career progression within medicine if you've done an undergraduate degree in certain fields. I've listed here on my slides some of the sort of courses that people look to study, but really any science degree would work. There are some courses at some universities that actually allow you to apply for medicine while studying in that course. For instance, clinical sciences at Bradford, if you secure above 70% in the first year's exams, you are eligible to apply to Sheffield Medical School. Plymouth University have a similar process. There are other universities where they will accept applications from you whilst you are in your first year of an undergraduate degree. So for instance, Lancaster University, for instance, a fantastic medical school. If you started an undergraduate degree in another course, they will allow applications for you to apply for their undergraduate medicine course in your first year. They will expect you to secure a certain percentage in your first year exams. I think it's again 70%, but it would allow you to swap across after 1 year of your undergraduate degree rather than doing the full 3 years. So certainly going down the route of not taking resits and actually looking at an alternative undergraduate degree, you may not even need to complete the full 3 years of that undergraduate degree. It can still be a stepping stone to university for medical school. I often say it's always worth applying to a university that has a medical school within it. Again, you've got a foot in the door. It might allow you the opportunity to transfer if you're doing particularly well on your undergraduate course. So I think the key thing is really considering that as an alternative plan. Now, you may already have an insurance choice that's non-medical. If not, you can certainly make use of clearing, and there will be a large number next Thursday. I guarantee it. There will be a large number of science degrees at some really good top 20 ranked universities that you could consider. When I mention clearing, it is a really, really good opportunity to find some of these fantastic courses. You can get on some really good undergraduate science-based degrees, things like natural sciences, biochemistry, and they are available at most universities on results day. So clearing is something you can really start preparing for now, even before you arrive to collect your results next Thursday. Some of the universities have already released their clearing lists. So you can log on to if you go onto the websites of certain universities, you can already see what courses are going to be available in clearing. They often don't advertise just yet what the grade entry requirements are for these courses, but actually increasingly a lot of them do share this information the night before. So you can look on Wednesday evening and see for different universities what the entry grade requirements are for the courses. So again, you can start to plan, well, if I get 3Bs in my A levels, what sort of courses, which universities, and what courses would I consider as an undergraduate degree, for instance? So you can really start to research and look into what is available to you and actually plan it in advance so that on results day you are really prepared if that's the route you decide to go down. It's really it does sound scary, does clearing, but actually it's really quite straightforward on the day. Once you know where you want to apply to and what course, for a lot of them, they still do the kind of more traditional approach where you have to phone the university up. You will find this on their clearing page. So you just Google the university and clearing, and it will come up with the phone number for their clearing. When you phone up, they will ask for your name, your UCAS ID, which you can find in the UCAS hub. And sometimes they do ask for a clearing number. Now, that is only if you're eligible for clearing. It will come up a clearing number in the UCAS hub. If you don't have that, it doesn't actually matter as long as you've got your name and your UCAS ID. They will ask for the course and the course code that you want to apply for. So if you just make sure you've found that on their website, on their particular website, and then they will ask for all your qualifications. So they'll want to know your subjects that you studied at A level and your grades, anything else that you've done as well. So anything that gave you UCAS points, if you did an AS, an EPQ, if you've done any other qualifications that give you UCAS points, make sure that you tell them that as well. At that point, they generally then give you a verbal offer straight away. The courses that may not are courses where they may require you to go for an interview. That might be a virtual interview, or they might actually invite you to the university maybe the day after results day for an interview. The sort of courses, that may require an interview is maybe something like pharmacy. So a lot of people consider pharmacy as an undergraduate degree before moving into medicine. It is a course that increasingly they do like they certainly interview first time round, and actually even for clearing, they do still tend to want to interview you. But this is, as I say, it's things you can prepare for. You can just make sure you've got all that information to hand. So when you go into your school and collect your results, if you think, right, I got the grades, maybe I thought I was going to get, I didn't quite think I was going to get the grades I needed for medicine. I'm going to go down the undergraduate degree route of a different course. And I now know what I'm doing. I've planned in advance. I've got my list of unis I'm interested in and the courses I want to apply for. I'm going to get phoning up. You can phone more than one university. You can do it throughout the day. Some of the courses do get full quite quickly, so it is something to do, I guess, as quickly as possible. I like to suggest take a team of people with you because you could have more than one person phoning a different university, for instance, at a particular time. So you could have mum phoning one uni, you phoning another uni. When you get through, then you just make sure you're the person that goes on the phone. You can get offers from multiple universities. And when you have the offers, what's really important is that you ask these questions. So you want to ask them how long you have before you have to add your choice into the UCAS hub. If you get multiple offers from multiple universities, you might want time to consider what you want, which one you want to go to. Some people even take the time to go and visit the universities the day after results day. So you just want to check with them. Normally, they give you maybe 24 hours, 36 hours, something like that. But you just want to make sure that you know how long you've got so that then if you are phoning multiple universities, getting offers for different courses, you know how long you've got to make your decision. If you are needing accommodation because it's somewhere away from home, you do want to make sure that if you are taking a place in clearing, that there is actually accommodation available for you on site. Sometimes they don't have any accommodation available, and that would then become a very expensive process if you're having to find some private accommodation. So, yeah, I would really recommend that you ask them on the phone whether there is accommodation available, because that might help you make a decision of which one you want to go to. And then just finally, just make sure, because it's a verbal offer you've got, you just want to ask them when they will be sending the email confirmation so that you know you're going to get an email with the offer you've got, and you know then there's no worry of it's not come through and all of that. You know you've got the offer, you know how long you have to decide on it, and hopefully, I guess that makes sense. So certainly clearing and doing an undergraduate degree in a different science is a viable route if you've not got the grades that you need in your A levels to be able to apply directly to medicine. But equally, another viable route, take the resits the year after, study hard on the resits, retake the UCAT, and try again, applying again. Both are valuable routes. I have students at my school that some choose one route, some choose the other. And actually, with both routes, I've had a lot of success of them people getting onto medical school afterwards. So it certainly is a viable opportunity. The third option is if you actually did consider or you were considering going overseas. So if you thought that your grades were maybe quite a way off what they need to be for a UK medical school, overseas, they do not have the same entry requirements. I've just put here on my slide, it's just a little bit of a screenshot of some of the universities that Medical Doorway work with. It's a useful website if you want to look at different opportunities overseas. It's certainly something to give a lot of thought to. There are positives and negatives to going overseas. Obviously, it does mean that you can start your medical degree straight away having finished your A levels. You can apply after results day. So there are certainly many universities overseas that would take applications from students on or after A level results day. It's another route in. Obviously, you need to make sure that the course that you do, that it is an accepted course back in the UK. And you've got to, I think, make sure that you research carefully what the pass rate is for the course. Obviously, if given that they are lowering the entry requirements, and actually quite significantly sometimes, for some of the courses, you only require 3 Cs at A level. So, with that in mind, I would be making sure I found out and asked the question of, well, what's actually the pass rate overall? How many of these students actually do complete the course at the end of it? Because it's all well and good lowering the entry requirements, but if you still, which you do, have to still achieve the same level of knowledge after the 5 years as you would in the UK, I would want to make sure that I knew that they actually successfully produce doctors that were qualified at the end. And there wasn't quite a high, not dropout rate, but fail rate, where they failed you after maybe the first year or the second year because really academically it was too difficult. So I think doing a lot, I would say go with caution when it comes to overseas medical schools, but certainly you could start to do some research on that. You could contact Medical Doorway now so that you can get some information before next Thursday. And it is, and again, another option that people consider. But I guess what I'm trying to say is just tread carefully if that is the route that you are thinking of taking. So I've kind of covered there everything that you would maybe the different pathways available to you if on results day you haven't got that 3 A's that we are obviously all hoping to see on our results sheet when it comes out. The flip side of that is that actually you may on results day open that envelope and you have the A's that you require. And if you are sat on an offer from a medical school already, then that's absolutely fantastic. You're going to be starting your medical training from September. It's nice and smooth and easy, and that's absolutely brilliant. It is actually quite increasingly very difficult for students to be in that situation. A lot of times, students are in the situation where they get the grades that they need, but actually, the problem is that they didn't have any offers to begin with. So that might be because maybe their UCAT score wasn't quite strong enough, especially sitting at first time round. It's often tricky to get a high UCAT score, and we know that universities have quite high cutoffs for their interviews. Or maybe you had interviews, and we know how competitive it is. And sometimes I do think a little bit of luck comes into it in the end. And actually, maybe you didn't quite get what you wanted offers wise, and you're going into results day thinking, well, my A levels went well, I'm feeling confident, but I don't have any offers. A lot of people ask me, what's the deal with clearing and medicine? And I mentioned earlier about all these masses of courses available in clearing and how great it is. And clearing is absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, it's not so fantastic if you're wanting to apply for medicine. Increasingly, the courses where there may be places available, and sometimes there are places available, they obviously offer they send out more offers than there are places to the medical schools because they assume some students will underperform. But sometimes they are in a position on results day where they still do have places. When they are in that situation, increasingly some of the medical schools are starting to have wait lists. So Liverpool, for instance, do this. So they have a wait list. So if you were interviewed and you didn't quite make the cut for getting an offer, you may have been waitlisted. If you are waitlisted, that's fantastic. You'll be able to contact them on results day and see if they have any places available. If you're not waitlisted on any for any universities, it's always worth checking clearing, but I think, unfortunately, I don't personally think there will be any courses available in medicine. If you did interview somewhere, it's always worth a phone call. And I have actually had a student where this did work out for them. They phoned the university they'd interviewed at, they gave them their A-level results, and actually they did come back to them and give them an offer for medicine. So it's always worth doing that if you've had interviews and you've got your good set of A-level results on results day. But I would do it instantly, is pick up your A-level results as early as you can in your school and phone those universities straight away. It's unlikely to happen, but never say never. So it's always worth giving it a shot. At the moment, these are the only courses that are listed on UCAS as being in clearing. Now, Buckingham is the one that it's mainly international students. It's £40,000 to study there. That's their course fees. So unlike the normal course fees for other universities, it is a lot more expensive. So if you had 40 grand a year lying around, then certainly you could give them a call. The only other one that is currently listed as being available is this Medicine with Foundation year. I don't know how long that will stay there for. It might be worth a phone call. You could try. It would require a 6-year course, but that I think doing an extra year probably isn't a massive problem if it gets you where you want to be in the long term. So it's certainly, yeah, worth giving certainly the University of Lancashire a call on results day, I would say, but keep an eye on UCAS, just see if anything else comes up. So if you log on to ucas.com, click clearing at the top, type in the search box medicine, just see what there is. But as I say, I think unfortunately, if you've got the grades, probably clearing won't pan out. Some people think, well, I'll do a different degree, but actually, for the almost everyone I've known go through this, if they've got the grades, they want to give it another shot. So, what they do on results day is they decide that they're going to take a gap year and they are going to reapply to medical school the following year. Obviously, that requires resitting the UCAT. So it's really important that, again, if that's not been booked, make sure that UCAT is booked. If you if you're in the situation now and you're thinking UCAT, yeah, get it booked tomorrow if you've not already done it. Or if you're thinking, well, I'm going to wait and see what my grades are on results day, and then just log on as soon as you can on results day to get that UCAT booked. I said earlier, doing the UCAT second time round is a really good thing. Like, people find it easier the second time round, they're more prepared for it, and people tend to do better, which means you're more likely to get shortlisted for interview. If you've got the grades already, so you've already showed that you can get at least 3 A's in your A levels, then that's really reassuring to the universities as well. So actually, we find that students that are in this position tend to have a lot more success at getting offers when they're doing their gap year than they did the first time round. So I wouldn't worry about the fact that, yes, it's an extra year. It's very much an opportunity, and if you've got those grades, it's a fantastic opportunity to really go for it. I put here, consider how to make best use of that gap year. You want to really strengthen your application as much as possible. I put here what counts as good gap year activities, and there is no like set list, but anything that you can show that you're developing the skills required to be a doctor. So if you can show that you're working with people, if you're doing that in a caring service capacity, that's even better. If it's paid work, that's fine, but unpaid voluntary work is brilliant as well. Things that really, I put here roles that test resilience and communication, exposure to people and responsibility. So I think don't worry too much about what it is, as long as it's kind of making sure you're working with people and you're developing those key skills that are required to be a doctor, because that's things that you can then reflect on in your personal statement and you can comment on it in your interview. So when you go to interview and you're asked questions about maybe medical ethics and you're working within a healthcare care related role, maybe you're volunteering in a nursing home, you can use some of your real life examples when you're answering the questions to show that you have a really clear understanding of what it takes to be a doctor. So certainly a gap year is a really good opportunity to develop those skills. It's a great opportunity to get the UCAT stronger, reapply, hopefully get a load of interviews. And also it's a really good opportunity to have a bit of a rest. It's hard, and medical school is hard, A levels are hard. Having a gap year to just relax, regroup before you start medical school is actually a really good thing. And increasingly there are people that choose to do that. They defer entry to medicine because they want to take that year for themselves, so that they can be as prepared as possible when they start that course afterwards. I'm hoping my general message with today is that the pathway isn't the same for everyone, and that's okay. And actually, if things don't go quite to plan next Thursday, it's okay, and it's not the end of the world. And actually, there are always ways and means to get into into this. And whether you leave school and you are lucky enough to go straight into a medicine degree, that's great. But whether it takes an extra year or two, you take a gap year, you do another degree, you maybe do only 1 year of that other degree. If it takes a little bit longer, it is not a problem. It's not unusual. And actually, more so, I'd say it's unusual to be able to go straight into it. So I think trying to just go into next Thursday, trying to be, and I know it's easy for me to say, but to be as calm as possible, to have got everything as much as you can planned out with a plan B, a plan of attack, depending on what your grades are. It gives you the best chance to really, with a level head, then make an informed decision of what you think is going to work best for you. And as I say, if it takes an extra year or two, in the grand scheme of things, given how long it takes from your undergraduate degree in medicine, then your foundation years, all of these things, it takes such a long process and a long time anyway, that an extra year or two at the start doesn't really matter. Um, I think I've covered everything that I wanted to. I'm just going to look through the questions because I know some people have been typing questions. If you've got any questions that you want to ask, please type them in now. But I'm just um, so someone's asked about clearing and the preferred uni should already be in one of your four uni choices. It doesn't need to be. So for clearing, if you pick a course, a different science undergraduate course at a different university, doesn't matter that it wasn't one of your four choices initially. That doesn't matter at all. I always say it's kind of good to go for somewhere with a medical school. But that being said, one of my biggest success stories is someone that went to Durham University to do natural sciences. And he's now one of the top cancer surgeons in London. He did not go to a university that had a medical school, but it didn't matter. He was able to apply postgraduate into medicine, and actually, his undergraduate degree really spurred him forward and progressed his career much quicker because of that. Um,
Can I just add something to that, Mrs.
yeah,
Shanti?
please.
I think, for clearing in specifically for medical uni, you can't call them for the universities you have applied, and either, if they have rejected you or you didn't meet the criteria. So you can't apply to those four uni. So you need to apply a different one, if
You
if
that's if you're applying for a different course, you can. Yeah, you'd be absolutely fine applying to the same uni. If you got rejected from that uni after interview, for instance, there's no harm in phoning them. Just because they rejected you after the interview, you could certainly phone them. It's not a problem. Um, someone's put, for example, you attended UCAT this year, 2026, but you want to retake in September. Okay, so someone's asked about UCAT. If they did it in August, can they retake it again in September of the same year? No, you can't. You can only sit your UCAT once a year. So if you sat it last year, so last September, ready for your application, then that's fine. You're allowed to retake it again now in August, September time. But if you did it maybe a week or two ago, you can't take it again for this sitting. Um, that is the only one that is valid for this application process.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, like you rightly said, UCAT, it's actually people underestimate the UCAT. More number of attempts you do, you get better, but
yeah.
you've got only one chance. So we are
Only one
really,
chance a year. And that's
yeah,
why people do so much better the second year because
yeah,
they've already had a go at it first time round. You know the stress and the pressure of it. Doing it that year after, yeah, it tends to go a bit better. But unfortunately, you can't do it more than once in that
yeah.
year.
I think the
Someone's,
best thing is for people to have a good practice. There are so many places where you can do mock tests. So be prepared and practice before you go for the
yeah,
first time.
absolutely. Medic Mentor is a brilliant website for preparing you for UCAT. I would get a subscription to that and do their practice papers. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Someone's asked about overseas and student loans and stuff. So the student finance that we get in the UK, you cannot apply for that if you go overseas. That is probably something I should have mentioned. So that's another thing to consider. If you did, and this is why I say going overseas is a slightly risky game because you would have to pay for it all yourself. You can't take out a student loan for that. Um,
And
so someone's asked again about very low probability for clearing for medicine. Yeah, I think I would I would say very, very low. So someone's asked, this is a really interesting one. Someone's asked about if you get AAB, would they hold the offer if you're waiting for a subject to be remarked? And this is actually something that happens a lot. People are really close and they send their papers off for a remark. The universities have to honour your place. Now, sometimes what that means is that whilst you're waiting for the remark, they are supposed to honour your place. What actually sometimes happens is they don't always hold your place and they still have to give you a place, but sometimes they say you'll have to take a gap year and come the year after. It's annoying and it seems very unfair if you are remarked and your grades do go up to 3As. It seems extremely unfair that you can't then start that September. What I would say is if you're thinking a remark because you're really close, you can pay extra to get a fast remark as in a turnaround of a few days. Make sure you do that. Make sure you contact the university and tell them that you are getting it remarked because they may have already rejected you on UCAS. So you need to phone the university and tell them, I'm getting it remarked. If it goes up to 3As, I assume don't ask the question, say, I assume my place, you will honour my place. They legally have to say yes. Whether they make you take a gap year, sometimes they do. What I would say with AAB, I have had students who have been accepted on medical courses with AAB in the last few years. Sometimes they used to be really strict, really firm. You had to get the 3As. We have had people miss by a grade and they have been accepted. So when you get your results, if it's AAB, get logged onto UCAS Hub and check. Don't just immediately assume you're going to have been rejected. It's really important to check because fingers crossed they might still take you. So someone's put here about if I'm a home student, could I apply as an international student through clearing? You can't apply as an international student and you wouldn't want to, but what you can do is apply to those courses like University of Buckingham that have the courses that are £40,000 a year. They're open to international students. Home students are allowed to apply as well. Obviously, it's a lot of money, and it's probably not something I would recommend personally because that's £40,000 for 1 year, and you've got 4.5, 5 years, depending on which course you get onto. It'd be an awful lot of an investment. I don't think it's something that you should consider, really. Unless you've got millions of pounds.
Yeah, you win the
If
lottery.
you're very wealthy, then yeah, go for it.
Yes.
Are there any other questions before I leave?
Okay.
Yeah,
Finally,
yeah,
Prabhakar, do you wanted to unmute and ask Mrs.
yeah.
Reddy?
Thank you. Yeah, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you, yes. Hi.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for explaining it. Yeah, you mostly covered all the questions, and thanks for that. The couple of questions, like on behalf of my daughter, I'm asking she's into year 12 and completed and getting into year 13. To give the background, I had like you covered everything except one, like the transfer scheme. Like I think you mentioned some, I'm sure the Bradford, like or in
Yeah,
close to there, like where if you study
yeah,
like the first year and the second year, you can
yeah,
get it
yeah.
transferred. So is that for that you can take any course, but what is the like
It's
the
not any course. It's not
okay,
any course. And I mentioned Bradford because they have a link with Sheffield Uni. I
okay,
mentioned Plymouth because Bradford actually doesn't have an undergraduate medical course themselves, but they have this link with Sheffield Uni. I mentioned Plymouth. Plymouth do it, and obviously they have a medical school, so you would just transfer within the actual uni. Um, they're the two universities that I know of that offer it. Obviously, you've got to do very well. Um, And it's something that I would not sign up for until I've spoken to the uni. So I think you said your daughter's in year 12, which is perfect because you can go to the open days. If you've missed the open days in June, you can go to the ones in September for the universities and speak to the universities and see, because I've obviously only mentioned a couple of them, but just speak to universities and see if they have that opportunity available. It's worth then just considering that as being like your fifth choice when they apply to uni. If you put down something like, I know, biochem at Plymouth, knowing that, well, if we did end up there, there is an opportunity to maybe transfer across. It's a good fifth choice option, isn't it?
Yeah. So the option is like what you mentioned, what is your aware, but even good to ask like the other universities whether they
I
offer.
think ask and check because they change all the time, and I don't want to give out of date information as well. So, like the clinical sciences at Bradford, they were doing that. I don't know if they've doing that next year. So it's just worth double checking. Plymouth did it last year, and actually, I've had a couple of students that have gone down that route with Plymouth. But again, these unis change things all the time. So it's always worth going to the open days, speaking to the universities, and just finding out exactly the situation from them.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
That's okay.
Any other questions we'll have at the end? And can I just thank Mrs. Denby for spending her time on a weekday? And I'm sure it was helpful. We also have the recording, so we'll share it with others who couldn't
Yeah.
attend today. Thank you very much,
That's
Sarah.
brilliant. And then you've got my slides and all of that. I will stop sharing my screen.
And I'll see you again next year.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye. We move on to our next speaker. We have another option we have is obviously studying in Europe. There was also a question about prioritization for UK jobs for UK graduates, which is true. Being a doctor myself, I know the current situation. This year, there was a doctors' strike led by BMA, which led to a prioritization bill, which means that jobs will first go to UK trained medical school graduates, and if there are other jobs, then you'll be in the wait list. So that's happening this year, but we don't know what the future is. I mean, obviously, UK always needed international medical graduates to fill in the gaps. So we don't know what the future is in store. But today's talk follows on. I would like to welcome Dr. Nagamani Reddy, who is an emergency medicine doctor in the NHS. She has dedicated herself to guiding aspiring doctors towards successful medical careers. She herself studied in Europe and is a successful doctor in UK. So she's going to transfer her knowledge and also her main aspiration, which is through ethical doctor-led admission guidance. She helps students secure places at recognized European medical schools, providing expert support through the application process from university selection and entrance examination preparation to admissions and enrollment. Just a disclaimer for myself, I don't have any touch with the universities, or I don't benefit by people going to those universities. So over to you, Dr. Nagamani, who has been helping students over the last few years. And you got 20 minutes to talk about studying in Europe, and then we'll have a 10 minutes question and answer sessions before we finish. Over to you.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
There is an echo. I mean, I understand, there is an issue with your internet and hence you can't come on video. But yeah, go on. Hello?
Probably she might have logged in both mobile and the laptop. That's just the go.
You just can bear with us. Priya, do you want to contact her? And
I'm just on it.
As we can see your screen.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes.
Okay. I'll share the screen. Is the voice okay now?
Better now.
Okay. So I would like to help the students who are aspiring to study medicine or dentistry. So my aim is to help students who are unsuccessful in the UK medical schools. So it's not very easy to get into medical schools. It's a very tough thing. So there are a lot of competition going on. In the UK medical school. So, but if you're not successful, don't please get disappointed or discouraged in not continuing a career in medicine or dentistry. So there's always alternate option. Don't get disheartened or anything like that. So once the A-level results come, there are many people who get disheartened. But it's a very good option if you still want to continue a career as a medicine or dentistry. You still have options. It's not the end of the world. So they're all medical reputable universities around the world. So one of the choice you can choose is European medical schools. So the main aim is whether what you want to pursue in your career. So the main thing is with increased competition everywhere, so there are a lot of things for you to consider whether you want to continue a passion or to don't confine to one country if you really want to become a doctor. So it's not like, okay, you want to study only in UK or only in Europe, wherever it is, you just wanted to pursue a career. That's what if your dream is. And some choose many options, like whether to take a gap year, whether to take a degree, and then go into medicine, or whether to end up in having another alternative degree, which they do, I like to compromise with. So there's so many options, which every changes with every candidate. So, like for example, some choose to gap year, but some may like it, some may not like it. So, but the experiences of many students who took a gap year is been bad. They come to the square one where the questions need to be asked for them as whether they can be successful next year or not, or is it worth considering to go into this year and then try again, and then if unsuccessful they still can continue the second year of the med school, or whether to do something else in the gap year. So everyone has different choices and everyone has different preferences of what they want to do in future career. So like the questions what you need to ask about is how much confidence you are in the next year, whether what about your next application is equally. Please question yourself like whether your application is it's equally competitive next year as well. It's not the same as this year. It could be more competitive. And what if your A-level grades have not met the criteria? And what if another year passes without securing a place? So it's worth considering, not to waste a year. And for as I said again, so for some people it prefers and some people it doesn't prefer. So please consider those questions and ask yourself what best fits for you. Okay, so the other option is it's a sensible idea to smarter idea to apply for the European medical schools, and you can keep your still UK dream open. For example, you can apply for the European medical schools. What if you don't get an medical school in this year in UK? You can still apply and then go to the European medical schools and then apply next year again. And then in case if you're not successful again, you can continue second year. Otherwise, if you still choose to leave that university and start fresh in first year, that also you can choose. It's up to your decision. So like it's worth considering all different options according to your circumstances. Okay, so for some of the universities in Europe, the deadlines are not open until you are waiting for the A-level results. Some good universities, for example, finish deadline well before the A-level results. But there's no harm in applying and keeping it because you're not going to lose much. Just a couple of like, it will be less, for some universities, less than £200 when application and the entrance exam. You can just write and keep it, but you don't need to choose if you don't want to until the A-level results. You can write it and keep it. So you have an option. If you have the option A, option B, option C. So ball is in your court. You can choose whatever you want to do. So that is worth considering that. So people have some confidence. I've seen last year many students have been calling me after the A-level results, but unfortunately they need to compromise on the universities which the deadlines are a little bit later, but not all universities have the same deadlines. So please consider that well in place. So for example, some of the university, like 4 or 5 universities, they finish the deadlines before July 1st. So just apply and keep it and then write the exam and have that offer in place. So once A-level results have come, so don't get disheartened, that at least you have one option offer so that you don't lose an year, you don't dishearten yourself. Okay. So the best decision is to have 2 or 3 offers in place. Just you lose like 300, 400 pounds maximum. Even in European medical schools, I prefer to apply for more than one university. The reason is if you don't get through one university and if you have do a lot of research and then you like one university, don't like another university, at least you have ball in your court. So you can have the choices of choosing what you like and what you prefer. Also, I encourage the students to apply and keep it and not wait until the results come. So that you don't need to compromise on the university which you want to go to. Okay, so because it's a big investment you're doing in the terms of the career, money, and your future. So it's a very important decision to take at this moment. It's not like a just proofreading or something like that. You should take in good research and go in the right direction, have the right guidance. There are a lot of people outside there in the agencies who try to misguide you, who try to place you for the commercial purposes, so make you confused. So just don't fall for those things because you will take a wrong decision and then you can't revert it back. So once you step into that line, so it wastes the years and then you'll be unhappy with the school. So just be mindful of all those things. So because it's not a small thing, it is the 5 to 6 years you're spending in that university, and that is your career. So just be mindful of that and just do the right guidance and go to the right person because that is your future career. Okay, so the things you need to consider and the challenges which you face before application is to choose the right university. So you should make sure that what that university provides for you and what are the eligibility and the requirements, because in every university in Europe and every university, even in UK, there are different eligibility criteria, different requirements, and there are a lot of complications in application processes, and every university is different. And so you should have a transparent guidance, which should be in the right pathway. And they have multiple variations. So the main thing you should consider is where you want to work after you study. So you should see that whether whether it's accepted by the GMC and accepted by whichever country you want to go to. So that's very important because you spend 6 years, for example, and study medicine, then you come to know that, okay, it's not recognized by GMC if you want to work in UK. So you have spent 6 years and studied hard for it and you can't get a license to practice, then it's not a good idea to go to that university. So, but the agencies will just send to that universities just for the sake of their commercial purposes, but you end up in not able to work and again you need to write an exam and complications do occur. So just be mindful and then check your research before you go into that university. That's an important thing to consider. And as I told you, every university is different. You should know the subject requirements. Some universities give importance for the A-level results. Some universities give importance for the entrance examinations, what they do. So every university is different. So it depends upon what university you're applying. So I'm there to guide you if you always want help with that. And every university has the application process is not so easy to go through. So every step is important. Deadlines are important to consider. And you should consider like different communication points. You lose the communication, then you're stuck and you miss the deadlines and the application goes wasted and then you lose a year for that. So just be careful in doing all the steps in every organized manner. Okay, and as I told you that every there are very conflicting advisors. There are multiple agencies in UK which go on. For example, even they sent to them in Georgia, which is not even European university, and for the sake of the commercial purposes, and they end up in doing. I have seen so many students who have gone to some of the universities. They do 2 years and they come to know what is the future. They come back and they just mess up with their all the career, so they don't know what to do next. So it's very difficult to understand what you're going through that process, and it's very disheartening for the parents, for the kid, for everyone. So just be careful in applying for which universities and go in the right pathway. Okay. And there are, even in the Europeans, not every university is straightforward. So there are a lot of hidden risks for the student. So for example, so there are a lot of hidden fees from the agencies, from the universities, and there are a lot of low standard education standards as well in some of the universities. And some of the universities, there's a lot of corruption as well, frankly speaking. So even if you do a lot of research in Google, you won't get those information unless you talk to a student who has come from that university. So for example, there are some universities where the entry is very easy, but the exit is very difficult. They detain the students in the first year or second year, and they complete the education in 10 years rather than 6 years. So just be careful in applying to those universities where I know that it's very overwhelming and it's very difficult to decide that, but please don't. Some people just discuss with their peers, and then everyone is going, I just blindly go to that university, and it doesn't fit for everyone the same. So no two persons are alike. So just see what fits good for you, please. And because it's just not a simple degree, it's a lifelong commitment. So this foundation is very important for you for the future career. So just be careful in applying, and then because you need to see many criteria, multiple factors to consider, like before applying. So just see. And then the questions you may ask is, why do you want to study in Europe? And what are the challenges you need to face? And what are the best options which are available? And before applying, you should see what is your plans and what you want to do after you study medicine, where you want to work, and the financial aspects of it. So for every parent, for every child, it's different. So please do consider all the factors into consideration. And there are a lot of roadmaps to your dreams. So you should think is whether the university is recognized, and you should see what is the language of instruction, whether it is English or the local language, because some of the European universities, they don't do in English. So just be careful in that. Some examples for Spain, some in Germany, some in France. Not all universities do in English. So just see that which fits you. And the entrance exams. Some universities, if you have good A-level results, they may bypass the entrance examinations if you have some contacts in the universities. Some do mandatory entrance examinations. And again, every university has its own entrance exam. So they don't consider UCAT as the generalized one. They have their own entrance exam. You need to write and pass those local entrance exams. And again, it's tuition fees and the cost of living. So the cost of living in Europe is definitely less than in UK, as far as which universities which I help in. So, and you should consider the tuition fees as well. Unfortunately, you don't get a loan, but it's not very expensive as well if you worth considering, if your affordability meets the criteria. And you should know about the visa and immigration policies as well, because now we have come to the Brexit stage where you need a visa to enter in, to study there. But to enter for 90 days period is there, but you should have the local visas as well. And you should know every university is different for dentistry and the medicine program. So the program duration is different, the curriculum structure is different. So just see which fits you and which fancies you in that universities. And please look for the standardized exam universities. And some universities, they're out to do very standardized examinations where the students struggle to pass the examinations. So just be careful in going to the universities where there is fair standardized examinations. So everyone sits the same examinations, fairly examined. So that is very important. So ethical, student friendly is very important to go into that universities. And some universities even give lot of good opportunities where you can have Erasmus programs. You can go to Australia to study a couple of years. You can go to different university studies, even the degree is given by the host university. But still, they give opportunities in Europe to study, for example, in Ireland. You can study in Australia. You can go and study in Germany. You can go in different universities. Every university has types of many universities in Europe out there where you can choose what you want to do, or you can choose to study in the same university for all the years. And for internship, you can come to do in UK as well. So there are a lot of opportunities there, clinical training opportunities, and then the different cultural and social environment if you want to consider, and please do choose the student-friendly universities. So that is also worth considering that. And as I told you about the accreditation recognition, so some people like to go and work in Australia, some like to work in Ireland, some like to work in UK. So just see which, before entering into that universities, you should make sure that definitely I'm going to help in the universities which are all recognized. But in case if you want to go through any other agencies, or whether you're doing your own research and just apply in your own way, just be mindful that you make sure that it's GMC recognized, because at the end of the day, you need to, if you want to come back and work in UK and you come to know after that it's not recognized in GMC, then all your studies go wasted. So just be mindful of that and just see that it's GMC recognized. Or whichever you go to the Australia, then you think about that university is recognized by that country. So please check everything before you do, because it's a lifelong commitment. Okay, so different admission criteria to be considered, and then you should make sure that you get some see the GCSE English results as well, because your studies are in English, and some see the A-level results, some don't see, and some see the purely entrance exam. So every university has different criteria. And so be secure a medical future now and make the right decision. So avoid all the risks of your career, all the barriers, whatever you get, and then have the right trusted guidance. And because your medical journey starts here, the foundation is important for your future. Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Please do ask.
Thank you, Dr. Nagamani, for your quick, just a whistle-top tour of what's in store. We have a question from Prabhakar. Do you want to answer those questions? Do you want me to read out the questions,
Yes,
Nagamani?
please.
Yeah,
Prabhakar, yes.
yeah, I can ask. So
Okay.
I want to ask like approximately the tuition fees per year, like including the staying and other charges, like just as a
Yeah.
parent to be aware of it. Just average. I don't want specific to the uni. I know
Yes,
it depends on uni and the country where you're planning. So
yes.
I just an average, just we can be prepared as a plan B.
Yeah. So it is, it ranges from the universities. It starts from 8,000 to, I can say, up to 14,000 pounds
Per year or
per annum. Per annum.
per annum? Okay. And then is there any scholarships or is there any?
Yeah, the scholarships, like if you go to Erasmus programs or anything like that, yes, they do encourage to give scholarships. And but again, it depends upon which country you go to and you do get scholarships. And if you want to do like Erasmus internship, that also you have scholarships. So that is, every university has different scholarships, but not like they don't waive off all your fees, but they give scholarships based on the programs which you choose.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So it depends on the university. It's not okay. And the other question, like you told, not all European universities are recognized by the Medical Council of UK. Like, I mean, is there any place where we can do that research? Like, is there a central place where we
Yes,
can?
you can directly go through to the GMC website.
Okay. And they will give it like which are all the unis
There is
outside
a
UK.
list. Yeah, there is a list of all the universities in that GMC website, all recognized universities. So if you type that university, you'll get that university, whether it's recognized or not.
Okay, okay. And because the UK started, I think the last year only, like giving the priority to the students who studied here. Do you think that if you're going to invest for this year,
Like,
yeah,
yes, that question, the thing is because things do change. So as of now, that is scenario. But in future, things may change. We don't know. But still, because the students are going to study in Europe because they didn't get a place in UK, they don't have any choice. So if they're interested in studying medicine and that is a career pathway, right? It's not like confined to one country or confined to only UK. So the dream of the candidate is to study medicine. So instead of ending up in doing any other degree, for example, anyway, they're not going to become doctors if they end up in doing any other degree. So instead of compromising that, so it's if the student is interested in studying medicine and they want to become a doctor, so it shouldn't be confined to one country or only one rule which may even change in future.
okay,
Just to add
yeah,
that to that, I mean,
yeah,
this, as I said, the prioritization bill came this year, and this is the first year it's happened. For example, this time, I mean, this time all training posts went to local graduates, meaning people who studied in a UK medical school. But things might change. So we need to wait and see how things pans out in the next few years. But like Dr. Nagamani said, if I mean, if you can't work in UK, probably obviously the world is wide. So that's what she means. Okay, go on, Prabhakar.
yeah. No, I think because it's just I want to understand. So just a statistic, like the trainee posts available and the trainee posts available per year, and how much like the students coming out of UK medical schools versus like uh, the outside, like so that we know that the probabilities of like getting into the UK if you're studying outside, so that we can plan it out in well in advance. You know what am I trying to ask?
Yeah, the
Uh,
thing is to answer that question. So there are certain trusts as well which I have seen personally. Even this year, for example, my daughter studied in after the bill has passed. I'm talking about.
yeah,
Even my daughter studied in the European universities, and there are a lot of colleagues who studied in European universities, and then they have got a place the trust post because they couldn't fill in all the trainee post. So because the one who studies in Europe can directly enter into the foundation year two post. So like not all the trust has the option of filling in the trainee posts. So, but I don't know how this, I can't answer you the statistics, what is happening in all the other trust. I can say what is happening in my trust presently. My daughter has got a job even though after the bill has passed, and there are other 5 students who got into a trust post directly into the foundation year two in my single ED department. So that there are chances as well. So as
understood.
you
No, no,
told,
no, that answered the question. So only thing I thought like uh, they no need to write some special exam to
as of
practice.
now, yeah, as
Yeah,
of now, I think they're introducing, as far as I'm aware, UKMLA, where that will be there for everyone, including the UK students. It's nothing specifically for European students. So as of now, they have not introduced anything. But once you start medicine this year, the whatever rule they pass in the future, it may apply for the students who start medicine at that time. But as of now, there is nothing which has come up other than
difference.
the MLA
Yeah,
proposals.
understood. So only the students who comes from India or other places like
Yes,
that,
yes,
they
outside
have to
Europe, outside
outside
Europe.
Europe.
Yeah,
Okay, as of now. No, no, that's answers. No, that's pretty much I wanted the want to know. Like I know that, but I want to confirm from. I just did googling, and
yeah,
I
yeah,
also went through the few websites. But I'm happy to hear from authorized or who's knowledgeable into that. So it gives confidence for the parents. Like okay, at least studying outside UK is not a
the bad option.
it's
Yeah,
a bad option. It's a one of the good option based on what you said. It's the passion have the student has the passion. I think there is does not matter where he or she studies.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very
Okay,
much. Then,
thank you.
thanks, Nagamani, for spending your time and then coming to with your passion for helping students. I have put her number in the group chat, so if you want to contact her directly, you can do so, or even if you want to contact our admin Priya, who will help with any queries. If you're not part of our group, you can always join our group, or you can contact Priya later on. Okay, we wanted to finish on time. Priya, over to you to thank everyone before we leave.
Thanks, Dr. Anand. Hi everyone, I'm Priya. I'm going into my final year as a psychology student. So I wanted to thank our two speakers today, Mrs. Sarah Denby and Dr. Nagamani, who took time out to attend today's session.